What's up, Ravens fans? Welcome into Week 6 of Ravens Unscripted in the heart of the division right now, coming off a big win over the Pittsburgh Steelers. A lot to get into, and we have a great couch with us right now. Ryan Mink, you know, John Eisenberg, you know, both of Ravens Media. Luke Jones back with us for the first time in 2019 of WNST. Great to be with you guys. We start, as we always do, with 4 downs. All right, first down, the win in Pittsburgh, Ryan Mink. How much of a must-win was it? I'm quantifying must-wins.
Wow.
This feels pretty good.
Yeah, how do you quantify a must-win?
I don't know.
It was a must-win. I mean, they absolutely had to have this game. If they fell to 2-3 and lost to a rival that's pretty hampered right now, down to its third-string quarterback in the second half of that
Devlin
game.
Hodges, what's up?
Yeah, exactly, from
Who?
Samford. So I think that if they had lost this game, it would have really been a shot to this team. They had to have this game, and now when you look at the Browns losing on Monday Night Football, the Ravens are back in first place. So much hinged on that game.
I won't say it's must win because that term is just overused way too much.
It comes out way too early.
Yeah, especially in week 5.
Yeah.
But I think this was an exhale game for the Ravens to get the win.
An exhale win.
You slow the heartbeat a little bit. The sky's not falling. You snap a 2-game losing streak. And to your point, you look at the rest of the division, the Ravens are sitting in pretty good position despite some of their concerns and some of their things they need to clean up.
Yep.
You know, the game I thought that could have changed everything in the AFC North this year was the Baltimore-Cleveland game a week before, which Ravens could have really blown the division wide open. Didn't win that game, so it put them in a different situation. And so, yeah, it was a great game. I mean, I think this division is going to be up for grabs. I mean, it's going to be back and forth, but it's a huge game to win.
All right, second down, and it feels like week to week as the world turns with Lamar Jackson, whether it be as good as it can be in Miami or at times when he struggled. So, Luke, how do you come away from this game? His first chance as a starter against Pittsburgh. He has the 3 picks, but we don't necessarily feel like they're all on his shoulders.
Yeah, I think it would be pretty obvious to say that this was a day where he struggled throwing the ball. Maybe the 3 picks weren't truly indicative of what the day was, but where he might have had some shortcomings throwing the ball, he was their running game on Sunday. They did not run the ball between the tackles, kind of like that Arizona game where it was Lamar on the edge. So even when he's not at his best throwing the ball, he still provides a very meaningful contribution, and that's why the Ravens love him so much.
I mean, there were times in the first half, certainly, where you're like, Lamar Jackson's just putting this team on his shoulders. I mean, in the first half when they got off to that hot start, Lamar was doing everything. And I have to say this. You're in Heinz Field. You throw 3 interceptions. You have calls going against you. You're trailing. That environment, a lot of quarterbacks will just crumble in that environment, and Lamar Jackson did not. He stood up to it. Yeah, I mean,
doesn't bother him at all.
He looked totally like he was just playing at MT Bank Stadium and they were winning, you know. And so I have to give him credit for that, certainly.
How about the drive to tie the game? I mean, you know, you're down to the very end of the game. Ravens are behind. I mean, it's a situation Joe Flacco was in a lot and came through a lot. I said, all right, Lamar, here we go, Heinz Field. And, you know, penalty, I think, helped get that drive going.
Yes.
However, he moves him down the field, tie the game up, and, you know, eventually win in overtime. So, you know, he got it done there. And so even on a day when he doesn't have a great game, he always gives you a chance to win.
It's remarkable how much he has changed this rivalry. I mean, just think about what it looked like when Joe Flacco was the quarterback versus now where the Steelers are scampering all over the field trying to catch Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
He has changed it so much.
And he won the internet, which is really hard to do by being a good person and picking up a photographer that
very
he
true.
knocked over.
Right.
So
Us
that's not
media
the
types
box
appreciate
score,
that.
but it probably should be. Maybe that takes away one of those interceptions. Third down. Guys, messages were sent before this game based off of transactions during the week, which we've covered. Tim Williams, they move on from him. They start Josh Bynes. LJ Fort makes an impact in this game. They're continuing to make moves with this defense. So, John, how should we read, I don't want to say the level of panic, but more so the level of movement?
Not panic, concern.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that, let's stop and think about this. They take a guy off the street, put him in the C.J. Mosley's old position in the middle of the defense, and he plays the whole game.
And played well.
Yeah,
Played
he had
well.
a game-changing play to knock that ball in bounds, right?
Immediately
and
makes
an
a
interception.
pick.
Yeah, that's
He'd
right.
been on the team for 3 days, and he plays the entire game at Heinz Field. It's like,
Right.
what is going on here? What that tells you is a lot of concern. And I think all the moves that we saw, and there were just a ton of them, It was all about, we have to stabilize this thing here. I mean, after back-to-back 500-yard, giving up 500-yard games, it's like we can't keep doing that. We have to get tougher against the run. We just have to stabilize this thing a little bit. And so that's what that was about. I don't think the Ravens are done working on this defense.
Yeah, I look at it as sometimes you just have players that are doing too much. That's what was going on in this defense. And you have to have a guy that you say, when you say be in this spot at this time, he's going to be there. And the ball is going to come to him, and he's going to run into him and make a tackle. That's what Josh Bynes did. I don't mean to minimize what he did. He played well. Yeah. But sometimes you just need a guy that's going to do his job. How many times have we heard coaches say, do your job?
Yeah,
Josh
somebody
Bynes,
made it famous.
When you tell him, when you tell Josh Bynes what his job is, he's going to do it.
Yeah, we'll see how this evolves in the coming weeks. And I'm not going to guess that these guys that are playing now are going to be playing in week 17. But down-to-down consistency, and I'll use a term that I used about the win in Pittsburgh in general, slow the heartbeat a little bit. Understand your assignment. Don't try to do too much. And we saw the Ravens, I think, take a step forward. It wasn't perfect in Pittsburgh, but some progress in that way.
Yeah, and the change is going to continue, unfortunately, because of Tony Jefferson's injury. Fourth down, Cincinnati Bengals. Team this Ravens organization's had trouble with in recent years. They look to be really down and out, Ryan, though, early here in the week. Your thoughts on taking on a Bengals team? And again, what's a critical stretch here for this Ravens squad?
Well, Joe Flacco had trouble with him. Let's put it that way.
Oh, you're going to blame it all?
I mean,
easy to do when he's
the
in
defense
Denver.
did 2 years ago as well.
Yeah, I think Lamar Jackson in his first NFL start that he ever made looked pretty good against the Bengals, and that was his first NFL start. He's improved a lot since then. The Ravens obviously should win this game. The Bengals are one of the worst teams in the NFL this season, but they're an AFC North foe. And whenever you have, the Steelers are down to their third-string quarterback, I didn't think they would give the Ravens that much of a trouble.
What's up?
There you go. And so, the Bengals can come up and bite you at any period. So you never know.
I think you need to win because look at the schedule after Sunday's game against the Bengals. 6 of the next 7 come against teams that currently have a winning record. Now, it's early. We don't know what's going to happen. There can be injuries, but this is a game, I'm not going to say must win because I already established I don't like using that term too much, but they better win this game because it's going to get much more difficult here in the coming weeks.
Any game against the Cincinnati Bengals, I don't know about you, just sort of reflexively you go, ooh, because there's been a lot of tough sledding against that team over the years here, but this is a game. I mean, I think there's a chance at coming off the Pittsburgh game, again, going against my reflexive sort of instinct to go, ooh, tough game. I mean, the Ravens could pull away and win this game, I think, a little bit. They got a team on the ropes here with lacking some key personnel. It's a chance to get an easy win.
Off and running here on Unscripted. Coming up next, retweet or delete. What better time than to dive into some social media after a win over the Steelers? I see the props. It must mean one thing. Retweet or delete. Let's get our first tweet up here on the big screen. This is in response to a tweet about Marlon Humphrey. He is a top 3 cornerback in the league, and he ain't third. This is from Michael. Where do we come down on this, guys? Obviously, the X would be a disagreement with this tweet. And a little birdie would be an endorsement. So I'm going to go with the one guy who has Marlon in the top 3, and he ain't third.
I mean, I think it's really hard to rank where these guys are. Marshawn Lattimore, Patrick Peterson when he's on the field, Xavier Rhodes. Stephon Gilmore, exactly. There's so many really good cornerbacks in the league. Where does Marlon rank amongst those? I don't know. I will say this. He's in the elite class. Yeah. There's no doubt about it.
Dropping the elite word.
Yeah, the big E word.
That's big around here.
The big E word. I'm definitely putting him in that cluster if he's 5th or 3rd. I don't know, but he's among those.
I think he played a little bit better down the stretch last year than he has so far. By his own admission, he's had some busted coverages, some mistakes. I'll say this, though. If I'm starting a football team, he is in my top 3 as far as guys I want to have at the cornerback position because he's 23 years old. I do think he's going to have a Pro Bowl season this year, even if I don't think he's quite top 3 yet.
Did I hear the name Jalen Ramsey in that list that you mentioned?
Oh, yeah, Jalen Ramsey, that's another good one.
Yeah.
He's got to be on the field.
Got to be on the field. Okay, well, but yeah, that's the point. I mean, I hate deleting that, but because, as Luke said, I mean, he's a tremendous cornerback. And
just locked up OBJ.
Yes, I mean, so how many guys in the league can do that?
Right.
So it's great stuff. I hate the rankings, top 3. I don't know. He's really good. Do I want him on my team? Yes.
John, we love to rank stuff. Come on. All right, next tweet. And this is from Jason Lockenfor of CBS. There are a handful of teams already beginning proactive about trades well ahead of the deadline. Here's who is pushing to add significant talent: Patriots, Chiefs, Ravens, Saints, Eagles, and Seahawks. How do we feel about this? Retweet or delete the idea? Ravens heavily involved. Whoa, across
here we
the
go.
board. Seniority, take it away.
Well, I think we've been watching Eric DeCosta in his first year here, very aggressive, willing to kick the tires on just about anything. There've been a lot of rumors out there. I think we're going to see something. I think we're going to see a move here. I don't know whether it's a pass rusher. I don't know whether it's a cornerback. But it wouldn't surprise me at all. The opportunity is there. The Ravens are in first place in the AFC North. Looks like they're down a couple of contenders this year. It is a year you can go for it.
Dream situation, guys. Who are you trading for? What are you
Oh
trading
boy,
for?
yeah. I don't know if I want to get into the tampering aspect of this question, but I mean, I think a pass rusher makes a lot of sense, and the Ravens have already shown that they were very interested. I mean, they went after Justin Houston, they went after Gerald McCoy for an interior kind of pass rush. With the injuries in the secondary, you did mention a guy named Jalen Ramsey, and I have heard some things in the media about that.
got a back
I wouldn't
injury, though.
I personally would not be opposed to that trade.
One or two rumors about him.
Yeah.
One thing I think the Ravens do need to do is think about the big picture here, though. It isn't just about 2019. They're finally in a position from a cap standpoint over the next couple of years that they have a lot of flexibility to play the market. They have draft picks. So Jalen Ramsey, just as one example, you don't want to give up too much in terms of draft capital and a big contract when, as you pointed out, they have other areas on that defense. I mean, there are 3 or 4 positions that they need to address at some point here over the next year or two on that defense.
I think it depends on the contract of the player you're trading for. I like these contracts where they have 2 more years on their rookie deal. You
Like
can
the
fit them under the
Fitzpatrick
cap. Right. The salary cap's only going up. Free agency is not necessarily the best way to acquire top-end players. A, they don't sometimes hit it because they get franchised. And B, they become super expensive. They're only going to become more expensive as the cap continues to rise. So sometimes, even if a guy's already been paid, I don't mind trading for him because you're going to look back at that contract a year or 2 from now and say, you know what, that top-end contract that he got was pretty good now.
I like this deadline talk in the NFL. All right, last tweet. Our guy, Justin Tucker, wearing a gray sweatsuit, just ran out onto the Heinz Field to celebrate his game-winning field goal about an hour after it happened. I mean, this is different, but hey, it's Tucker, man. He's doing things at his own pace. We got retweets across the board. Luke, why do you love this?
Oh, my goodness. I mean, they might as well rename it Tucker Field. He's missed, what, 1 field goal at Heinz Field, which we know is notoriously difficult for kickers. This guy is the best kicker in the league. He might be the best kicker in NFL history when his career's all said and done. So, yeah, he can celebrate when you make the game winner in Heinz Field against your biggest rival.
What's wrong with having a little fun with that?
Yeah.
I mean, that was incredible. That was incredible. Into the tough end of the field, 2 in a row. I mean, he's had so many. The 61-yarder on Monday Night Football to beat the Lions, one of the craziest things I've ever seen live. And this is up there with it.
What
really
was it
tough.
an hour later, though? I'm wondering the mechanics of this
Well,
celebration.
you have interviews, you have media interviews with
So he
guys
didn't get
like
enough
us.
on the initial. Didn't they pick him up
They
on the
picked him
field?
up. It wasn't enough.
So he needed more.
He needed to enjoy it just himself, empty stadium, really.
Was the
soak it
rest
all
of the
in.
Wolfpack with him?
No, Tucker's a goofball. He's just an oddball. Let him be. I don't have any problems with Tucker continuing to do what he does.
This was just like Willie Mays Hayes making the team in Major League. He goes out and dances in his socks outside the clubhouse and then composes himself and walks back in, just like that.
Whatever makes him happy, keep doing it.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Justin Tucker, you have carte blanche on celebrations moving forward. More Unscripted coming up after this. Welcome back into Unscripted. Time for some Ravens Mailbag. Tweet us using the hashtag Ravens Mailbag, and you can see your question up here on the big screen. Let's get rolling with our first one. After all the offseason talk about Miles Boykin, when will he get an expanded chance in the offense, John?
I think we're getting ready to see it. I think that is the next step in the development of this offense. The passing game, I think we've seen it dominated so far in terms of targets. Mark Andrews, Hollywood Brown, they're both hurt, playing through injuries. It has to happen. There has to be more spreading the ball around. I think it'd be a point of emphasis with Lamar going forward. And I think Miles Boykin will benefit from that, and it needs to happen for this offense. Let me put it that way.
Up to this point, Miles basically only catches touchdowns. He's like Chris Carter, So
Yeah.
there could be worse things.
But crossing routes, I think we can see him get open and get some receptions here.
Yeah.
Cody, great question. Thank you. Next up, let's keep it rolling here. This is from Chad Cummings, also known as Chisel 1991.
Ooh.
What are the Ravens going to do about the lack of pass rush, Ryan? I haven't heard this question at all, either in the training camp or this season.
Yeah. Well, they need somebody to step up. I mean, obviously, Pernell McPhee and Matthew Judon need some help. Pernell McPhee is just playing too much snaps at his age. The Ravens want to get him more rest. The rookie Jalen Ferguson is really who they are turning to, the third-round pick. So they need Ferguson to start getting after the passer. He's doing all right. He's been fine his first few games, but he needs to get after the passer. They also, I think, need to just develop some pass rush from other areas. The blitz is not getting home right now. Saw it kind of running up against the wall in Pittsburgh. Some of that's because I'm holding. But that pass rush needs to start getting home more.
I think some of the changes you've seen at linebacker and some other positions as well. Wink Martindale scheming up, guys getting a little more comfortable in their new roles. I think that could help as well.
Yep.
All right, question number 3. This is for one Luke Jones from Patrick Nicholas. Who's the most likely candidate to wear the defensive helmet the remainder of the season? Obviously, Tony Jefferson out. He had the green dot. Any chance they give it to Earl Thomas, Luke?
I think it's a possibility because he plays 100% of the snaps. You need someone out there every snap. So as much as they like to sub and play different packages, it has to be someone that's out there. So we saw Patrick Owasso take over for Tony Jefferson when he left with the injury. So he's a logical candidate. Maybe Josh Bynes. I mean, he's already handled so much in a week. Maybe in another week or two he can handle that. But here's the sleeper. Chuck Clark has been complimented by so many teammates that he is such a smart football player. If he's in Jefferson's role more 100% of the time, then he could be the guy in that secondary.
Well, I think that's kind of the key question there. Is he rotating with Deshaun Elliott, who, the Joker I really like a lot too, Deshaun. So if Deshaun's on the field a lot, you have to have somebody with that helmet on. So I think Bynes.
My vote is for Bynes.
It could end up being Bynes too.
It'd be something.
I vote for Earl Thomas because it'd be a great story. All this talk about how he's kind of coming into this defense to take over that role would be interesting.
Yeah.
If you want to see your tweet, your question, keep them coming with hashtag Ravens Mailbag. We'll see if we get it on the show coming up. Coming up, it's Love It or Hate It here on Unscripted. We close out the show with a little love, maybe some hate with Love It or Hate It. I'm going to give some statements, and the panel here is going to tell me if they love or hate what I'm saying. First up, tough loss. Tony Jefferson, leader in that secondary, but the Ravens will overcome it. Love it or hate it, Ryan?
I love it. Yeah, I'm really high on Deshaun Elliott. I've liked him in practice. I've liked him in preseason games. We have yet to see it in regular season games, but this guy makes plays routinely. I mean, some of the best interceptions during training camp came from Deshaun Elliott. And I like Chuck Clark too, just a steady, smart player, as his teammates say. So I think obviously you lose a lot from Tony in terms of the communication, in terms of the leadership, in terms of just being a likable guy that everybody loves playing with. But I think the Ravens have a lot of depth at safety and a lot of talent too.
I hate it because of everything else going on with this defense. I mean, Tony Jefferson had just taken over with the green dot helmet, communicating in the defensive huddle, and they've already had some concerns at linebacker, pass rusher. We've talked about that injury, other injuries in the secondary. So it's just something else. I think Chuck Clark and Deshaun Elliott.
They love instability. They love new pieces in there all of a sudden.
At some point in time, though, you do ask, is it too much? At what point is the breaking point? And statistically, it hasn't been very good. So I'm going to hate it from that perspective.
I think I may hate it too, more along the lines of what Luke is saying. With so many moving pieces here, in and out, just hate to lose a guy that's right there, that was making the plays, and it was going well with that. I mean, calling the plays, excuse me. So I don't know. That's just yet another thing that they're going to have to adjust to. I mean, I don't like that. I do like the talent that's coming behind him. You get an injury at a position where you have depth, you can sigh a little bit of relief there. But I think he'll be missed.
Absolutely. Get well soon, Tony. Next up, Justin Tucker. He's pretty good at kicking footballs. The Ravens need him to be on his A game. We were talking about it before the show. I don't really know when he's not on his A game.
Yeah.
I guess that New Orleans Saints extra point's the only one we can think of.
Evan.
Need him to be in his A game for this team to realize their goals, John.
Yeah, I think so. I think we'll find out. I mean, number one, he is on his A game. When's he not on his A game? He always is, and he's great. And this team plays a lot of close games. The Baltimore Ravens play close. Breaking news. There's a lot of close games, always here. And so he's the ultimate weapon in a close game. I mean, talk to Pittsburgh about it. I mean, not every kicker is going to make those 2 kicks he made back-to-back. Such a weapon in a close game in particular, and this is a team that plays close games. So, yes, he is needed.
I completely agree. If you're playing the Dolphins, okay, maybe
Yeah.
you don't need Justin Tucker, but he's the best kicker in the NFL. And to John's point, they still run the ball a lot. The defense isn't at the level to this point that it was last year, so they're going to be in close games. Why would you not need to have your top kicker at playing his A game?
His value is always there. They know he's there. Also, the kickoffs against Pittsburgh were really important too early in that game. Last up, love it or hate it. We got to be quick here. I can't imagine anyone's going to hate it on this couch. Hate or love the idea that the Ravens are currently sitting at first in the AFC North. Standings are a bit wonky in this division, but this is, I guess, the place that team would like to be.
Yeah, obviously you love it. You're in first place. But the Ravens have a tough schedule coming up. I mean, after the Bengals game, you have Houston, you have the New England Patriots. It's going to get harder from here. Like John said earlier, I think this division is going to go down to the wire.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I love it for that reason. Being in first place is great. However, I do think in the long run for this team this year, I think the division race is the path to the playoffs. I'm not as sure about the wild card. Tough schedule coming up. I think winning the division is the best shot this year for this team. And so I think the division race is where you want to be.
Short and sweet. The Ravens have as many wins as the rest of the division combined. Love it.
We can possibly see
Nice.
another win this Sunday against the Bengals. Tickets are still available. Head to BaltimoreRavens.com/tickets to grab yours today. Great work on the couch here. Luke, thanks for stopping by. We'll be right back here next week for another episode of Ravens Unscripted. Enjoy the game, everybody.